You know, I've been thinking a lot about how I'm going to package the review of this car, and I have to say it's probably one of the most difficult in terms of message delivery, because one has to make a person understand why should you get into this car and get it, because I don't think it's for everyone, and that's a very important aspect. I'm going to be reviewing this car as a tangible item, something that you can see, touch, and do whatever that you want to do with it. But at the same time, I want you to keep something at the back of your head. What value do you put on anything that brings sentimental meaning in your life? I don't even know if that's English, but what I'm trying to get to is, if you were given a watch by your grandparent and now they are late, you know, they've given you this watch, which is like, in economic terms, is worth like $100. It's not even much. But someone is asking you that, can you please sell me this watch? Do you know, you're probably not even going to sell it. How much value can you place on everything that it brings beyond its economic value? I keep thinking about this a lot as I drive this car every day, and I just can't separate it from the car entirely. As much as in this review we're going to be driving it out here, talking about how it drives on a normal day, taking it to the open road to see how it performs and so on, we're going to do all of that, and we're going to focus on the tangible item. But I don't want you to forget what we just spoke about. We'll touch on it probably at the end of the review. Otherwise, for those who don't know my name, I'm Sibua, and I appreciate that you're here with me today. Before we jump into the car, let's just congratulate each other, because you guys have reached 9,000 subscribers on the channel. That's amazing. That's beautiful. I love it. I love you. Thank you so much for that. If I didn't put up the message in the community post already at the time of this review, just know that it's coming. I'll even tell you what I told Mercedes when we requested this car. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you. I appreciate you so much. Thank you. So we are in the Mercedes-Benz C200 W206, and it's the lowest priced C-Class that you can find, brand new currently. I'm being intentional when I'm saying the lowest price, not the lowest spec, because I feel like it's at the same spec level with the C220D, just that the C220D comes at a higher price. This starts at 910,000. The C220D starts at 961,000. The difference being that C220D, it's a diesel, and then C200 is a petrol. Difference again, the other one is a 2-liter diesel turbocharged engine, pushing out 147 kilowatts, 440 newton meters of torque. This one has 150 kilowatts and 300 newton meters of torque. For both of them, there's more torque and power that you can fetch somewhere else, but we're going to talk about that in this review at a later stage. But if you feel like that's not enough and you want something more potent, more powerful, you can get the C43 2-liter turbocharged engine, double the power figures of this one, 300 kilowatts, coming at 1,538,000 rands. Of course, we've seen that the 63 is also coming, currently not on offer, so we're not going to talk about it for now. As much as I said this is a lowest priced C-Class, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's cheap. You can tell already from the standard pricing that it's not cheap. And to get it to feel and look like this one, you really have to bump it up a bit, because you can get it to as low as 1.3 mil to actually get it to this level. But those features, I feel like they are very much necessary in most instances, especially when it comes to daily living with it, because they bring about comfort, they bring about a better way that this car can actually present itself, driving, you know, the looks and everything else. But the driving itself is something that actually impresses me a lot, especially because this is a sedan, and sedan is long, and long can be intimidating, especially when you're driving on roads like this one. But they managed to actually get a lot of things right when it comes to the drivability of this car, because this car is long. I mean, 4.75 meters is almost the same length as the Everest that we had. I think that one was around 4.891 or something. And when I'm thinking about it, it's around like what, 140 millimeters less than the Everest. So you can imagine it's actually quite long. But Mercedes has managed to calibrate this car in a way that it's going to be so supportive to you, and especially with the specs that you can take on to actually get to a level where you can say, you know what, I'm comfortable to do runs in this car, whether I'm rushing to drop my kid off at school, or maybe I'm just rushing to work or anything like that, and I'm driving in a place like this one. It's not necessarily intimidating, because one thing that I'm so chuffed with is the spec that they put in here when it comes to the engineering package. It includes the rear axle steering, which actually turns the wheels 2.5 degrees as you turn the front wheels. That is super amazing. It reduces the turning circle to as low as, I think, below 11 meters. This thing is long, but it can really turn. When you find those tight circles, tight corners, it easily just grabs those like it's a small car. It's quite impressive how it's doing it. Actually, you can feel that, oh wow, you know what, I didn't expect this thing to turn like this, but it's turning like that. And it helps a lot when you're reversing into the parkings as well. It's something that you like, you just wowed, because it doesn't matter where you are. Once you lock the steering wheel to the far end to get into the parking, it's almost, I don't even know how to say it, because it's so easy. It manages to get those so well. And in doing that, of course, sometimes with a car like this, especially when you don't even see the nose because of where maybe you're sitting down low, you don't even see the boot. That's a guarantee. You're not even going to see it. And the camera systems that they have in here, they do have a 360-degree camera that doesn't come cheap as well. That rear axle steering wheel thing, it comes, if it's a package itself, it will come at around 40,000 rands. So it's a lot. But I think it's around 22,000 something if you just want the rear axle steering without actually getting a package, which includes the suspension with dampening system. So when it comes to the camera system, if I was to get this car, I would actually recommend the premium package, because it brings about a whole lot of things, and that includes the 360-degree camera. Oh man, this is probably one of the most supportive 360 degrees camera that I know. I mean, this camera system is almost what I would regard as a perfect supportive camera system when it comes to how it's actually doing its job. I mean, reversing is quite obvious, but the number of angles you can choose to actually get, it's quite impressive. It actually blows my mind, because it does so much more than just seeing around, but it shows you like the sensors in here as well, the parking in front and the rear as well, in terms of the sensors, how they're showing you like how close to the cab are you, how close to the wall are you. Whatever obstacle that is there, it's likely going to pick it up. Believe me, even when you're driving and there's something that is coming closer to the car, it definitely picks almost everything up to say, you know what, there's something close to me, it's bothering me, and I'm going to tell you about it, and I'm going to show you where it is. It shows you, it responds so quickly on the screen that whatever is in front of you, it's rare that you're going to miss it. And I love this camera system, the way they've done it. I think if I'm thinking about the other 360-degree cameras that I've seen, they're doing a great job, but this one is just something else. Even when you get home, you can choose the angles that you want it to show you, like pin on that address to say, when you get to this address, show me this and this and this angle, and then it's going to show you, and then you're just going to keep on parking the same way. At night, it even turns on the paddle lights on the side so that it can show you exactly where you're going. Hey, respect the speed limit. You know what? It's not all rosy though. There are things that are bothering me when it comes to how it drives. As much as it drives amazing, but living with it every day, because this thing is a mild hybrid and it recharges batteries. Like when you're braking, it regenerates and then it feeds the power into the battery, right? But that, I feel like it's disturbing how this car actually brakes, because it looks like it's thinking a bit that, am I regenerating? Is he just reducing the speed, or is he going to stop? Then it decides when, like, it's almost too late for me to say, okay, no, I need to stop. And then it gives you this thing as if it's dipping, like it's dipping down. That feeling, it takes time for me to get used to it. Then you have to understand that to get it looking as amazing as it does now, there is sacrifices that you're going to have to make. I mean, you put sport suspension, the car's riding low enough, it gives you agile, amazing drive that you want. But the low profile tires, these 19-inch rims, and everything else that comes with this spec level, you have to understand that you're going to have to sacrifice comfort, and you can feel that. You can feel that when you're hitting the bumps, when you're getting on those things that are doing grr, grr, grr on the road to say reduce speed, everything fits into the cabin. You can easily just get that, and that sometimes can make you feel like, you know what, I'm not sure if this is the right quality that I want, because it's not necessarily thudding when you're hitting like a small pothole or anything. You feel like a little bangs, and that thing is, it can be uncomfortable. So for me, that part is a little bit like of a worry for me, because I'm like, you need the sporty look and you need the sporty feel when you're driving, but you're going to have to sacrifice the comfort, and you're not getting both in this case. You're not. But you know what? Once you step out of this car and start looking at it and realizing that, you know what, your spec level has made it to look like this, you start to realize that, no, man, I can't say I'm going to have comfort, because I'm telling you, I get jealous of people that are seeing this car from outside sometimes, when you're just driving it and people are just turning around, just looking at it and just, you know, nodding, and some of them are just shaking their heads, and you can tell that this is a beautiful looking car. You know, I don't even think I want to talk about anything else, like, look at these lights, they look like that, or look at the rear lights, they look like that. Just look at it and tell me that this thing is not looking nice. We're gonna fight. There's just no way. I mean, this thing, the stands, the rims, I mean, the low profile tires, everything about it works. This is how you design a sedan. When people are saying sedans are dying, then you're saying to them that, come and see this thing. This thing looks amazing. I'm not even going to say much about it. I'm not going to say this is what, this is what. No, I'm not, because it just looks amazing. And I've concluded. You jump inside, you realize that, you know what, I have a consolation of my own, because as much as they're getting that view outside, I also have a fair share of my own when it comes to the interior. But remember, this is not a standard car. It's packed to the core. From exterior, this is the AMG line interior and exterior packaging. It will set you back 54,000 rands. What you get from outside, things that stand out, definitely the grille. Those stars that you see in the grille, they are part of the package. The 19-inch rims, part of the package. When you jump inside, the things that will stand out, definitely the steering wheel. It looks amazing. This sports steering wheel is part of the package as well. When I'm looking at the seats as well, this leather, part of the package. The leather that is wrapping up the dash right now, part of the package. You don't get the black roof lining as part of the package. You don't get the sunroof as well. You have to spec those separately from the package. The roof liner will set you back around 7,500, and then the sunroof is an additional 23,000 bucks. If you want the two-tone red black in the interior as well, you have to pay an additional 18,900 rands. But you know what? I wouldn't pick this color. I don't want to lie. I'd rather take the brown, or I'd take just the black, because those for me look amazing. Okay, let's get to the open road. We'll discuss everything else while we are on the way. All right, so this car has 4 driving modes. Should I say 5 with individual, because it's eco, it's comfort, it's sport, sport plus, and then individual. If I want it to be sporty, I just put it on sport plus. I don't need to be doing individual whatsoever. But does it make a difference when you're on sport mode or eco? It does. It really feels like it, because when you're on eco, you can feel that things are a little bit loose, you know, it's a little bit more relaxed. And the more you go higher, like from moving to comfort, moving to sport and sport plus, From Sport to Sport Plus, I don't really feel much difference. But when you're moving from Comfort to Sport, you can feel the change in how it's tightening things up. The throttle as well, the weight holding gears as well, because it likes holding lower gears when it's on Sport. Funny enough, I don't feel like any legal speed is enough for Sport Plus, because it doesn't matter where you are. If you're pulling it as hard as you can, by the time it gets to 4, you're already at 120, and it keeps holding the gear just a bit in anticipation that you're still going to push it much longer. And I'm thinking you're already above the speed limit, so just be careful of that. See, I just considered your safety, so please be careful out there, guys. Keep within speed limit. So what's moving us right now? 1.5 liter turbocharged engine paired to a 9G Tronic transmission. I mean, this marriage for me, it's one of the best marriages that I've seen. This can give advice to a lot of couples, and marriages will survive because they work. I mean, they just match each other so well. And the way it delivers every gear, every power, the way it fits into it, I'm so impressed with it. This transmission is actually quite amazing. And funny enough, this 1.5 liter 4-cylinder engine, I'm almost at a point of saying it's the best 1.5 liter in a non-performance car that I've ever experienced. It is quite amazing. 150 kilowatts, 300 Newton meters of torque. I did say that I will touch on where you can fetch the additional power. So when you're picking up or when you're overtaking, it can get a boost from the ISG, which is the integrated starter generator. What it does is that, you know, a petrol engine, right? When you putting your foot down to say, I need to go now, I mean, the table will come in, but it feeds in more fuel so that the engine can be able to, like, you know, the pistons can be able to kick faster. So what it does in this case is that instead of doing that, it comes in, the starter comes in, and then it feeds the additional power into the engine so that the boost can come in and push the car much further. So it gives you more torque. 200 Newton meters, by the way, additional 15 kilowatts, and yeah, it works. Remember when I spoke about the sport suspension that is here, the rear axle steering, when I spoke about how the steering wheel feels when it's changing, like from sport to eco to everything else? Look, this is where comfort is thrown out the window, because the way those things are coming into play right now on the road, you will appreciate this car. Look, I don't want to say it like this, but I'm forced to say it like this because of the way it drives and the way that I want to explain the feeling that I get right now. This is sheer driving pleasure. I promise you. I didn't want to say it like that, but look, this thing is amazing on the open road. Is it perfect? No, it is not perfect. I mean, there's a lot of things that I can speak about right now that are making it not to be perfect, especially because when someone gets a Mercedes, they expect absolute comfort. They expect absolute, like, to be in a space where you don't even get wind noise. For me, this wind noise is not necessarily at a 1.2 million level, because I think it could have been better, especially when you go higher in terms of the speed. When it comes to the road noise, I accept it because I know what is happening. The tires, they are low profile. It's expected that I will get some element of road noise. What I'm not complaining about is the engine noise, because yes, when I'm punching it and I'm putting my foot down, I do get that grunt, and this grunt is not an annoying one. It's actually quite, you know what, it gives me an element of you're moving now. It gives me that thing in my head that now you're moving, because it doesn't sound bad. And believe me, even outside it doesn't sound bad. It actually has some little bit of a fruity sound that is just subtle. So I like that about it, because I know it's not just happening on the inside through the speakers or whatever, it's also happening on the outside. This thing, it drives well. When it comes to how you're feeling on the long distance journey like this, because something that people don't understand is that the under thigh support is probably one of the best things that I can ever mention about long distances, because some cars are comfortable, especially for short distances, but I find that maybe my legs are quite like long, I don't know, but if I don't have enough under thigh support, I get like cramps underneath, like at around 200 kilometers in or something, I'm already feeling tired. But in here, because of the seats adjustments that are in here, amazing adjustments that you can do. It's a lot of them, from headrest to your back. I mean, there's lumbar support, but obviously I'm talking about under thigh support right now. It's quite amazing. I'm enjoying it because it supports you enough on these long journeys that you don't even feel tired when you get to wherever you're getting. This is how you make a car to drive, and the way as well that it's just laid out, because the dash, the way it's laid out, you need to understand that most of the things that you need right now, the aircon controls, as much as they are in the screen and so on, changing the driving modes and so on, all those things are closer to you. The stuff that you don't really need, which is like more and more stuff that is embedded in the screen right here, you will see that it's harder to reach them when you're driving. And I think they did that intentionally in the way that the screen is flowing down right now. It looks amazing, but I think it's also functional in how it's doing, because it's easy to reach the buttons that you need or to touch the screen when you need, which is the lower part of the screen. But driving it like this on sport mode, on sport plus throughout, and pushing it, doing overtakes like this and so on, it comes at a price. But it's not that bad, because on this trip overall we've done around 240 kilometers or so, and it averaged around 8.3 liters. So I'm finding that it's actually quite good. But because Mercedes has said it can get to below 7 liters per 100 kilometers, especially on open roads, yeah, I think it's a little bit tight, because over the last, I think we've done 600 kilometers or so overall on the test, and it was just close to 10 liters to 100 kilometers. So that's quite high, but it owes to the driving style as well. That's very important. I believe if you just put it on eco and so on, it can actually give you much more range. I just also have some reservations when it comes to the material quality. You know what, in most cases it's quality. There's soft touch materials around the cabin. There is like a lot of them actually that is like that, but there's just elements that are giving me that, you know, discomfort just a bit, because when I'm touching plastics inside, I can feel that, you know, these things are moving. These things are actually moving. The panel on top for the sunroof is probably, it scares me, because if someone was to pull it, or a child was to come in here and pull it, I think it's gonna fall. I'm not sure. And there's this rattle that is happening on the side of the door, just by this seat belt. What is this? It's holding a seat belt here. I'm not sure if it's just this unit, but yeah, it's worrying me a bit, because I'm thinking sometimes you do go to gravel roads, like maybe you're staying in the rurals and you just want to go home and see them, or you're from the rurals, let me put it like that, and you just want to go home and see them, and then you find that maybe you're not comfortable because you feel like there's a lot to protect. Yes, with cars like this, I expect that there's a lot to protect, but the way the plastics are sounding, they're not giving me a lot of confidence that, you know what, everything is tight to it. So that means there is sensitivity that you're going to need to apply in the car. And you know, this is a family car. That means even with kids, there are certain areas that you're going to tell them, you know what, be careful. Don't just come in here and start playing around everything and pulling things here. But I don't like that feeling, because that means I'm moving on eggshells. And yeah, it's bothering me. It's bothering me a bit. Does it feel like a million? I don't want to lie. Almost everything about it screams a million, from looking at it to touching it. The steering wheel, from the most touch points, are actually soft touch materials. Just that these hard plastics, they're just in a way just bringing it down a bit because of the way they sound as well when you're touching them. You know, those crackling sound, they do actually bother you a little. But moving with it with your family, it's not going to be a problem, because this is a practical car. From putting bottles and stuff in cup holders and doors and so on, quite supportive. I can't even complain about any of that stuff. It has sufficient space inside the car. When it comes to the boot space, there is enough actually to put in there. I think around 450 liters or so. So it's almost as a compact SUV size, just that instead of going high, it's going deeper. So that's one thing that you're just going to need to consider, that some things you're going to have to lay them down instead of taking them facing up. Oh, Mercedes has done a great job with this car. They've done a stellar job. This is how you improve from the W205 in terms of everything that I can think about that I was complaining about the W205. And I'm going back to where we started to say, you know what? I'm asking myself, when it comes to this and we're talking about specs and prices and so on, like, I'm thinking about the kind of intangible stuff that came with this car. I'm thinking it depends what you want to do with this car. And if, for example, you are in business, there's a high chance that you're going to close a deal with this car than a car with similar specs but different branding. And that's where branding comes in. Association to branding. How much can you put value on that? Because I'm thinking, even the treatment that I get, you know, I'm not driving my car this time around. I'm driving this car. And I can tell you, at the petrol station, when I get to the security gates, when I talk to people that are talking to me on the streets, asking for something maybe on the window and so on, the way they're looking into the car and they're asking you is completely different. So I can just imagine what happens in the office spaces, in discussions and so on, when they see this kind of a thing. I don't know how much value one can put on that, but you know what? It can seriously change the environment around you. I'm not talking about something that I've seen it happening to someone else. I've experienced it with just a few days that I had this car. So I don't know how much is changing for other people, but I did see that there is more value than just a car when you're driving this particular car. Otherwise, when you decide to pick this up, the standard price includes a 2-year or unlimited kilometer warranty, and you get a 5-year or 100,000 kilometer maintenance plan. I'm not talking service plan. That means you have much more to get out of the maintenance plan for 100,000 kilometers or 5 years. Yeah. Otherwise, when it comes to this car, it's hard for me to consider it only with economic value, but much more than that, which is intangible. And from me to you, I thank you so much for being here with me today. I am out.